Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the webinar at our Africa Health 2021. My name is Margarita Singer, and I'm the Regional Marketing Manager for Workplace Infrastructure Solutions at Dräger, Middle East and Africa. And today I am absolutely delighted to introduce our esteemed guest speaker, Ms. Angela Müller, who will be talking about the impact of the physical environment in the hospital infrastructures. Angela Müller works as a consultant and architect at Para Müller Arquitectura de Maternidades. It's a Madrid-based practice that she founded together with Marta Para Casado in 2008. Throughout her career, Angela has been engaged in updating new national guidelines and clinical protocols for a healthier, safer, and more respectful childbirth environment. After evaluating Spanish maternity wards for the Ministry of Health, together with Marta, they have been working on improving hospital maternity wards all over Spain. At the same time as they participated in creating complementary structures such as freestanding birth centers or midwife-led units. Their work is based on their belief that only by combining evidence-based clinical design for childbirth, it is possible to achieve optimized patient outcome. Besides from the maternity wards and neonatal units, Marta and Angela have designed together other hospital areas such as oncology departments, geriatric departments, and many more. They focus on process-based design and the human scale in hospitals as complex structures, integrating all possible users and stakeholders. I'm very honored to have Angela together with us today, sharing her experience on how workplace solutions can optimize the clinical therapy and the clinical outcome in the hospital environment. So, Angela, the stage is yours.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Angela Müller, and I will speak to you today or this afternoon from behalf of Para Müller Arquitectura de Maternidades. We are a Madrid-based office. We're an architecture office and consulting firm for healthcare. And well, thank you very much also, Dräger, for the invitation today. I would like to talk today about the impact of the physical environment in hospitals. So I would like to talk about, well, three topics. First of all, about birth or being born, or where it all started, because that is how we got to this topic of investigation. The second part would be European examples of best practice, and that the future is not only about technology. And third, and last but not least, the item that is that we're dealing with now for over a year or one and a half years, which is the pandemic here in Europe and the rethinking of hospitals. So, but before, I would like to start with a question and just read it out to you. The question is, looking at those two pictures, which place do you prefer for an important conversation? So, would you prefer a crowded metro wagon, a tube, or would you prefer a beach? So this brings us to like the first introduction to say it's not the same, the places are not the same, and an important conversation will take part, of course, in any place, but the environment also conditions us and makes us, well, maybe having a longer or shorter conversation or a better or worse one. But when we go back to hospitals, just to look at one item, which would be, if we go back to the birth topic, the mode of delivery. Those are data from Europeristat. They are from the last big European inquiry from 2015, and it's about the C-section rates in Europe. So as you can see, we have a wide range, but what they all have in common is that we have a very, very over-medicalized birth attention. So data ranges from 15 up to 60 or almost 60%. And that brings us to the next question. What makes birth so difficult in hospitals? Because if we go back and have a look, that there are actually places where, well, more than half of the women are not able to birth. We really have to think about what makes it so difficult to have a normal birth in hospital. And if you have a look at those images I brought to you, you can see two completely different situations. You can see a very active woman at birth, and you can see another woman, which just, well, what we would say is she lost control over her birth process. And this has a lot to do also with the space, because birth is a very sensible process that causes a different state of consciousness and makes it very sensitive to the environment, to the built environment, to everything, everything that surrounds us. Birth is also a very haptic experience. A birthing woman has to have, of course, a lot of movement, and she has to touch. Birthing women need support. They want to hang, they want to kneel, they want to sit, they want to move, they want to dance. You know, if you have a look at those are pictures from home birth. So if you have a look at home birth, not because of the home, but about women who feel free to move and to do whatever they feel like when they're birthing, we see that they're always touching, they're always trying to, you know, hold on to something because they need support. So this is actual, it's a very active process. And then they're also very sensible to light. So if we take this situation of a typical birthing room in Spain, we see that, well, if you're sensitive to light, this is not the optimal surrounding you need to have a birth. So what do you really need to have to be able to have a normal birth? You need privacy, you need intimacy, security, and all this has to be provided. And the space is one part of it. If we go back, this is another hospital in Spain, in the south, in Andalusia. So here, maybe you could get associations with an industrial kitchen because of those doors. So those are the doors for birthing rooms, which is probably not what you need to know that you're in a private, intimate surrounding. So how does it really feel when you have this traditional birthing room? What are your options? What are your options of movement, of holding, of where's the place for your partner? Well, lots of women, what they tell us that they feel like they would be, you know, they would be a car and the car mechanic. And this is not what you need for a normal birth. Also, when you feel observed, you know, you get to those situations. And lots of women also say that they felt like they would birth on a stage. So to give birth on a stage like it would be a public medical act is just not what we want from a birthing room. And what are the consequences of this traditional model? Well, we have a lack of privacy and intimacy. We have restricted movement, little choices, and together with lots of routines, as it is always in hospitals. And all this produces a loss of control. And at the moment when a woman loses control, she loses the control of the birth, and then it converts into a medical act. And then that's where the intervention started, and it's usually not the best situation. So that's also the reason for the high intervention rates, high post-traumatic stress disorders. That's what we see all over Europe now. So the physical environment is also an intervention. It's not a medical intervention, but it is an intervention. Just imagine, well, for comparison, we put up those two pictures. Those are two birthing rooms, both in Europe. The pictures were taken the same year, and they're just completely different. So what does a woman really need to get this privacy and intimacy to birth is quite clear. But it's not also all about the space. Of course, we need high quality environment. We need a what we call evidence-based design environment, but we also need the high quality care. So we only get the optimum result with both of them. How about technical guidelines? Well, there's lots of clinical guidelines. We have the World Health Organization, of course. We have the NICE guidelines in Europe. Those are the British guidelines, the National Institute for Health and Care Excellence, which are being copied all over Europe. But how about technical guidelines? Actually, the technical guidelines are far away from being updated or valid for what we need now. And it's also about selecting the right equipment. We need the right equipment. We don't need surgery rooms for birthing environment. So sometimes instead of putting up this huge ceiling lamp as the only option, we need additional items. We need additional lamps. We need different lighting situations. We need birth pools. We need special furniture. But we also have to take care of not converting a birth room into a gym. So we want all the electrical, the medical equipment out of sight to be sure we have a stressless environment and make sure it has a normal ambient. This is another example. This is a birth center just recently opened also in Spain, in Catalonia, near Barcelona. And well, as you see, there's different lighting options. There's what we call a normal ambient. No, we have all the medical equipment. We have all the everything we need, but not everything has to be inside. So this brings us to another example I wanted to show you, because this is a very interesting example, because we actually got data from this birth unit. That was the first birth unit designed in Spain in 2013 in Madrid. It's a private clinic with a very traditional birth attention, and we proposed and designed a new birth unit there. So what we wanted to achieve are more birth and better birth. So the situation, as you see, it was a small area in the hospital, 8 small patient rooms, which we converted into 3 labor and delivery rooms and a staff area. All rooms have natural lighting. That was a basic ingredient in the project. And each room offers 4 areas. We have an entrance area, we have the bed, relaxing area, we have the bathroom, and what we call the water zone with the birth pool. And it was very important to have acoustic comfort, a calm environment. It's always very important to choose the area to make sure it's a quiet zone in the hospital building. And this would be the look from the birth pool to the bed area. As I said before, medical equipment out of sight leads us to stress reduction in the women. So all the outlets, the medical gases, it has to be there, of course, but it doesn't have to be in first place. And then, of course, the functional furniture design supporting birth. So this also was designed together with midwives and women. This is also a very important aspect in hospital, you know, to make sure always what is happening in each place, what is the actual process taking part in a room or in an area, to make sure, you know, talking to patients, talking to users, talking to the staff, to make sure we really design what they need. So that was one of the first births in this unit. Concerning the evaluation of the project, I just wanted to point out one data, which is we call it Vback. It's the vaginal birth after C-section. Maybe you know that a woman after first or second C-section, when she wants to have a normal birth, she's extremely sensible and needs even more support and even more more normal and natural environment. So in this birth unit, it's around 80-something% now, the Vback rate, and it's almost doubling in the national rate in Spain. And another interesting aspect of this project was that, well, on your right you see the new birth unit, and on the left we have the traditional birthing area in just one floor below. And we had some interesting side effects in this project. So the programmed obstetric activity, which is usually quite high, was even going down in the existing maternity ward too. So the C-section rate is very different. In the new birth unit we had, after the first 2 years, we had around 11%, and in the existing maternity ward it was a lot higher, but it also had a little effect of going down. Then we make a shift to another example. We are talking about a NICU now, a neonatal intensive care unit. In general, we're talking about very noisy spaces and a huge lack of space and privacy. Normally, they don't provide any family space, and it's we're talking about long stays. There's babies there in there for weeks or even months, and it's probably one of the noisiest. Can be one of the noisiest places in a hospital. So our proposals, this is an example of one of our designs in Madrid. The proposal is to do like individual rooms, or at least make sure to have acoustic comfort, to have some place you can, you know, you can hide away a bit. And of course, integrating the family. A baby always comes with family, comes with parents, comes with siblings. And this would be another example from Berlin, where this would be a step further, where we really have private rooms for each family, where you can integrate not only the mother, you can also integrate the father, you can integrate the siblings, and still have fully care for the newborn. Very important is also social interaction in the NICU, and of course special areas for mothers, and space for grief is also very important. This is one example from an Austrian hospital, this space for grief. An interesting details is that if you really want to use it, in the way that when you have the last like the end of life phase, you need medical gases, you need water, you need you know, you need oxygen, you need the connection. So you can't just take any space, you also have to equip it in a correct way. And another very interesting project was Proyecto Hermanos. It's from Spain too, and Maria Emilia Dip, she's a psychologist in this hospital, the Hospital Vall d'Hebron in Barcelona, and she started to do workshops for siblings to make sure that siblings also get integrated in the NICU areas. They need the space needs some preparation for it. They make this workshop outside of the NICU. They prepare them for seeing their mothers, their brothers and sisters, their brothers and sisters, and then they get prepared for it, and they go into the NICU. They have their place there. They have their, you know, their seat, to step up to the incubator, and all this is about integrating families. This would be like the end picture, you know, after the workshop they go in. So this is something we really want to see in each NICU unit, because the impact is proven. We have a health impact, and we have economic benefits when we do this NICU project. So the actions would be improving the physical spaces. We have better acoustic comfort, different lighting situations, natural light, of course. We integrate the parents, and we have functional furniture, especially for kangaroo care practice. What is the impact? The average stay gets reduced. We have an improvement in the workload of nurses, of staff, and a lot less anxiety for families, and of course a better bonding, higher breastfeeding rates, and the economic benefits are also very important. So it's important to know that when you change, you change a neonatal unit to do all this, you invest and you get it in right away, because you have this health impact you can really measure, and you have the economic benefits. So this is probably one of the best examples of how the physical environment can really, you know, make a difference. And last but not least, I would talk about some lessons we learned from COVID-19 here in Europe. Probably the first thing after the first shock, the first big change, or the big mental change, was that the safe hospital, or what we assume to be one of the safest places in a city, the hospital, all of a sudden turned out to be unsafe places. You know, people were instructed not to go to hospital. So you're sick, but you're not supposed to leave home. You're not supposed to go to hospital. So what happens? You know, all this fear, isolations. People didn't know what to do. And inside of the hospitals, all of a sudden we had this situation we've never seen before. All of a sudden, everything was flexible. You know, everything was moved. Well, we just, you know, maternity wards closed all over Spain. People were moved to other hospitals, to other homes, and hospitals just popped up everywhere. We had medicalized trains. We had medicalized, well, exhibition halls converted into hospitals. We had medicalized hotels. So the hotels were converted into medicalized hospitals. And this brought us to a very interesting situation that all of a sudden you could compare, as a patient, you could compare between a hospital and a hotel. And inside of the hospitals, we had this huge occupation going on of any possible place where you can, you know, put in patients. So we had this huge topic about delirium, because of course in this well, almost panic in the first weeks, patients were just put anywhere, any empty place we could find in hospital. And those were usually places without daylight, without natural ventilation, without views. And, you know, as soon as you are in there alone, without visits, there were no visit, there was no social interaction. People were lonely. Sometimes they were also alone in just, you know, corridors or room or wherever. And when you are in this situation where a patient enters in and has a delirium, recovery is just a very complicated aspect. The same happened, or well, we had different situations, but still, natural lighting and ventilation is just so important, and we just completely forgot about it. You know, hospitals get bigger and bigger, and we're just losing the basics. So where do we want to live, and how do we want to live? That was also, you know, on one side you had the hospitals, but all of a sudden you had hospitals everywhere, and we had the lockdown and felt like in jail and in our own homes. And suddenly, well, it's just not the same if you have a terrace or not, if you have a balcony or not. And what happens with our hospitals? We're making bigger and bigger and bigger structures. We now, you know, we've been ignoring natural lighting and ventilations for decades now, and we just need to go back a step, and maybe also go back to hospital gardens. That's another big topic now in architecture. The impact of a real hospital garden. I put real because we want it to be real gardens, not just some fake structures or halfway. We really want real hospital gardens, and also not only for the few, but also to be able to use them. There's some really interesting studies now on that topic. Creating a hospital garden is always a good idea, especially offering quality outdoor spaces. So the exterior space is just about to being discovered by hospitals. And I just wanted to cite two interesting studies about this topic: the impact of a hospital garden on pregnant women and their partners, and the benefits of gardens in hospitals. So there's also an impact we can measure, of course. We can take it up to shorter hospital stays and saving in medications, but also concerning staff. There's always an interesting topic with the gardens, and it's about less changing jobs. So probably the best message I could give you today is just to question everything and research on how architecture and engineering can really create safe places and promote health. Because we can only make proper design and a good design if we really know how to integrate all users, know about their needs, and be sure that they can really use the places we design for. Thank you very much, and have a good afternoon.
Thank you, Angela, for this excellent presentation and giving your perspective on why it is important to optimize the design, especially in the neonatal care units. We at Dräger, we have more than 60 years of experience of supporting the planners, the architects, the biomedical and clinical engineers in many countries to optimize their design and optimize the workflow processes in the ICU, in the neonatal care, and in the OR environments. And in the next couple of minutes, what we would like to demonstrate is how Dräger can support and offer solutions towards more healing environments and patient-centered hospital design.
Every medical workplace is unique, and the requirements are more than just a combination of medical devices. To develop a concept, we have to step into the planning process at an early stage to identify and analyze workflows, technology, and the resulting spatial requirements. We can support planners from a very early stage, offering a wealth of information on workplace requirements around the patient bed, operating table, or incubator. Work routines, medical care, and the associated technology have all become more complex, the workload for staff increasing dramatically. At the same time, the clinical treatments have changed. Aspects like access to the patient, noise, light, or family integration have to be kept in mind for an optimally designed room. To get ahead of all these challenges, we offer to visit the care unit, watch the work processes, and interview the staff going through their daily routines. Based on our process and workflow analysis, we can support planners during their first schematic designs by showing how clinicians and staff work and which improvements are possible. To consolidate all of these challenges, digital planning software such as the Dräger 3D tool are available to design and review ideas, assisting planners in creating a first draft of their medical workplaces.
Hello from our Dräger Design Center in Telford, Pennsylvania. What we've learned from evidence-based research in the last decade, and specifically in neonatal care, is that the new standard for outcome in the NICU is not just about survival, but intact survival. The brain development and growth for low birth weight infants that takes place during their stay in the NICU will dictate how they're going to live the rest of their lives. So beyond clinical practice, we now have to look at the environmental factors such as sound, light, touch, and positioning to create an environment that is conducive to neurodevelopment. Also, the involvement of parents in the care process is of critical importance. It is now a fact that family integrated care supports better outcome. So our job as specialists in neonatal care design is to create a dedicated space for parents that allows them to feel welcomed, comfortable, and empowers them to be part of the care team. We need to remove any obstacles to facilitate kangaroo care and ensure that seamless process to support that bonding between parents and baby. Our holistic Dräger NICU workplace incorporates the ambient ceiling supply systems, but also protective therapy solutions such as neonatal ventilation, patient monitoring, warming therapy, but also accessories and service support, all from one hand. As you can see in this workplace, the ambient supply system provides an optimal platform for all-round device and accessory integration. It not only organizes the space according to your clinical workflow, but also maintains the integrity and positioning to support adherence with established protocols and preserve that family space. A touchless working light provides direct illumination for working surfaces, keeping the incubator interior dimmed and allowing the infant to sleep peacefully. The quiet self-closing drawer with automatic light switch gives you access to supplies with minimal stimulation to the infant. Integrated sound and light monitoring solutions allows you to support noise reduction initiatives and protect sleep. Indirect ceiling lighting illuminates and provides a warm, comforting glow to the room, enhancing that homely feeling. Navigational floor lighting illuminates wide area around the ambient column base in order for room lights to be dimmed, but at the same time assist family and staff to work and orientate themselves safely. So in order to create such an environment, we conduct a thorough workflow analysis to ensure that design is in line with clinical practice. Use the latest in evidence-based design to support best practices, and use our design center to conduct workshops that help us fine-tune that final workspace.